All right, all right. Here we go. Another episode of Hitting the Road. I'm excited today. It's a little bit outside the box. We've kind of been down this road a little bit with content creation, content creators. I felt like this person was different. I felt like they had a story that is willing to, that it needs to be heard. Let me just say that. And so today I am on with content creator. Host of the Prank Cab Show on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. He has grown his social media following to over 250,000 followers across all platforms, really at warp speed. So I'm pretty excited today to have on Taylor Allbritain. How you doing, man?
Great. I go by TV Taylor, and that's been my moniker since I was 18 years old. I've been in video production since I was a teenager, and I got given the name TV Taylor, and it just kind of stuck.
Man, well, it's a good handle, man. It's a good handle, and you're doing some really fun things with it. And and I know we talked a little bit before we jumped on that we're going to get into the content creation because you're really just doing some incredible things. And I think that it's safe to say that like you're bringing a lot of light and energy into the space, which I think we need more of, especially when in the days of doom scrolling. I think finding things that are good for the heart and good for the soul, man, are good. So I appreciate you putting out good content.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, man. So, okay. So, we had, like I said, we chatted a little bit beforehand, and I told you, I felt like your story was just really remarkable, man. And, really, so, I want to take us back to 2006. And you kind of mentioned even on your Instagram accounts, it's a big part of your story. There's, well, let me ask you this before life kind of splintered a little bit. Who were you as a teenager, man? Who were you like? Were you a creative even then? Were you a rambunctious kid? Did you have the ADHD thing going on? Like, what was your situation?
My first experience with creating was I was 14 years old, and I asked my parents for Christmas an Xbox, and instead they got me a camera and a computer.
Okay.
And a brilliant move on mom and
Yeah.
dad. Thank you so much. That literally launched my entire career because ever since then, I have not stopped creating. Now, I'll admit the first video that I emulated was Jackass.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
me and a couple of buddies went and probably endangered ourselves in some kind of
Wow.
way. And it was just at home fun videos. And
Yeah.
that kind of launched my love of video production. But I was also really quick to turn it into a business. I was very entrepreneurial from a young age.
Really.
I started doing like sports highlight sizzle reel videos for my local baseball leagues and soccer
Okay.
leagues for kids that were between the ages of like 8 and 14. And I actually started to make a lot of money. So
Wow.
my first job wasn't at Subway sandwiches or Domino's pizza. My first job was
Wow.
working for myself as a videographer.
Wow. And so, I mean, because listen, I know a lot of kids, man, they're mowing lawns. They're looking for all kinds of side hustles. Like you said, your parents, man, they were looking down range enough to give you something that would turn into a skill set. And I mean, dude, do you feel comfortable? So you were doing, like you said, different sporting events and stuff like that, but you're probably, buying your first car and all this kind of stuff with really just kind of the hustle that you've got, in video, right?
That's right. And man, I had a truck. It was a GMC Sierra, and I pimped it out. I spent all of my money on 20-inch chrome wheels and
Yeah.
chrome handles and chrome accents and a sprayed in bed liner and big speakers and
Yeah.
red lighting. And I
Oh
blew all
wow.
that money in one summer.
Wow. 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 Yeah, that's man, that is something. Yeah, well, man, but good on you. And good on your folks, man. To kind of point you and steer you, man. And so we talked to, like I said, you're from the ATX, man. You're from Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
And Austin, for those that have never been, I'm a Texas guy, like we talked about, I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, but I used to make frequent trips down to Austin. So, hanging out on Congress or whatever, just doing the thing. Austin, in your time, I mean, you're from there. I mean, so it's like, have you seen it evolve and change? Not just from a nightlife standpoint or whatever, but from a even creatively, have you seen it change in the last 15, 20 years?
Yes, and I'll clarify that story by saying I was born in Austin and then I moved in my school years to Southeast Texas near Beaumont, Port Arthur, and
Okay,
I
yep.
grew up there. And then I ended up coming back to Austin. I've also lived in LA and Canada and
Oh
San
wow.
Antonio. So I've been a little bit all over the place, but I came back to Austin. Like I said, I was born in Austin and I think I'll die in Austin.
Yeah.
And so I've seen Austin go from a small college town into a full grown city. And it's come with some problems. Like,
Sure.
we'll just never seem to catch up with the amount of infrastructure and
Yeah.
housing that the city needs. And we kind of really blew up around the COVID era. And that really shifted the creative industry, especially the live events, which is what Austin is known for.
Yeah.
And since I'm in the live events industry, it was a huge hurdle of how to pivot and do things virtually or do things in a hybrid model, and how to still earn those dollars as a live events
Sure.
production company. I've had a first row seat to see all those changes, and it's somewhat miraculous.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And so Austin, I'll tell you, I had some of the best breakfast tacos I think I've ever had. And I listen, you can throw a brick and hit breakfast tacos. But I went to this place, One in a Million. I don't know if you've ever been to One in a
Oh
Million.
yeah, yeah.
But in your opinion, man, who's got the best breakfast tacos in Austin?
Oh man. I think there's this place right around the corner called Taco Palace, and they have a line that's around the corner. Every morning they open up at 5 a.m. and they never miss.
Really?
And they sell donuts and stuff as well. But man, their breakfast tacos are just always fresh, authentic, made on the spot.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, it's really hard to miss with a breakfast taco.
Totally, totally, and yeah, man. I mean, and man, and I know we could talk about it ad nauseum, but even the barbecue down there is slamming, obviously.
Yes, yes.
And you guys again, they just do it right down that way.
So
But
one of the
yeah,
things I also, real quick, I produce a channel that's like Austin experiences and
okay,
restaurants, and it's called Finding Austin Spots.
okay,
And so I am in the world of restaurants and experiences and barbecue, and every year we have a new barbecue spot in Austin. And right now, Interstellar Barbecue is one of the most well known. They've won a lot of awards this year. So if you're thinking about coming down
yeah.
to Austin, please come. Please try the barbecue. You
Yeah,
will not regret it. It is to die for.
love that, man. No, I love that. Yeah, because everybody, I think, I mean, Franklin's is gonna, is gonna be the big brand that everybody nationally probably knows, and they camp
Mhm.
out and all that. But man, and it's been a while because I would do the whole thing like down to Lockhart, you know what I'm saying, and like
Yep.
stop there and or Terry Black's, whatever it was, But it's like,
Yes.
but anyway, all that to say, like, I mean, it is so competitive down there, and I think that
Yes.
Franklin probably put it on the map a little bit in a lot of ways, but man, it has evolved. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Those boys take it very seriously.
Yeah, yeah, man. Well, so okay, so you're doing big gigs, man. You're doing, the South by Southwest, like you mentioned, which is huge. I mean, it's just huge. I mean, I've as an agent, I've been down there and done the thing, man, and spent time and done, spent time with artists and promotion and all that kind of stuff. But when you're doing things like that, I mean, it is a breakneck for people that haven't attended. I mean, it is you are at no loss ever from going to listen to an incredible music, and I mean, so obviously, I mean, people are coming from all over the world. Artists are coming from all over the world, and but you mentioned the production. I mean, dude, it is such a big deal, man. There's so much heavy lifting and so you've been a part of that. I mean, you've been a part of that heavy lifting, just putting things like that together.
One of the passion projects that I'm working on right now is actually a docu-series about the crew behind the scenes in the
Really?
live music capital of the world, and it's
Wow.
called Backstage. And it follows the audio engineers and the lighting engineers of the live music industry in
Yeah.
Austin, and it follows their stories, and it's very real. And these are the people that you normally wouldn't even see unless they turned the lights on, because they're dressed
Yeah.
in black and they're off hidden in the corners.
Totally.
But these are the people that we owe this industry to. And so
Yeah.
I wanted to create a series. I'm on episode 5 right now, that showcases their lives and their stories and the companies and the cause and the passion. So I'm really, really proud of that project right now. And that's called Backstage.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I'm making some notes as we go, man, because I'm interested as we circle back,
I'll be
later.
honest, one day I hope to see that show on Prime or Netflix.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Well, man. So you've obviously, man, like I said, it's been a big part of your life. Just not only where you're from, but even what you do, and but there was a time, and again, I want to be very sensitive here, but there was a time where you've been honest, where your life kind of splintered. And what was that
Yeah,
in 2006? Is that around
that's
that?
right.
Okay. And man, for some context, I mean, what kind of happened there?
I'm not afraid to talk about that. So, my high school sweetheart tragically passed away in a drunk driving accident.
Oh man.
And the really, really sad part is that she was the drunk driver.
Okay.
We were 18 years old. We had just graduated high school and we were in the summer before our freshman year of college. And so the sky was the limit and we
Yeah.
were happy and we were healthy. And one fateful night, she was celebrating becoming the cheerleader for the local Beaumont football team. And she had a little bit too much to drink
Mm.
and she got into a car accident that ultimately ended her life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was very shocking at the time. I remember disassociating a lot. I don't even remember that era too much because that's a self-protection
Sure.
method that our bodies have, is to disassociate just to be able to survive in the moment.
Yeah.
um, I still remember getting the phone call at 7 a.m. after seeing that I'd missed 12 before that,
Yeah.
and the call that my high school sweetheart, love of my life, Casey, was in the hospital. And after a few days, she didn't make it. Just
Yeah.
she had gone too long without oxygen flow to her brain. And so we had to make the really, really difficult decision to pull the plug on her. And I just remember after that completely wrecked my life, I was never the same.
Mm.
And I never wanted to feel that way again. So I began a really dangerous spiral of using chemicals to change the way that I feel
Mm.
because I just wanted to change the way that I felt.
Yeah.
And that spiral led to a decade long crippling addiction that I barely survived
Yeah.
myself.
Man. Well, and so no, and man, first and foremost, that's so heavy, on anybody's heart, man. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And any of us that have lost a loved one, but the funny, I mean, most of us don't experience something that tragic, like like for instance, I lost my grandfather, but he died of old age, I mean, he was 93. It wasn't, something tragic. And so like I know that that's got to be traumatizing for you, for her family, and so when like you said, you kind of splintered a little bit and you started a 10-year, like you said, just really just kind of a decade of experimenting with things that could have killed you. And how does that start? How does that start? Like, how does that begin? Like, I mean, what was it something you like when that had happened with Casey? Had you ever used drugs before at that point? Or
Good question. So, only recreationally in high school, I had drank because there's really nothing else to do in this small town. But the first thing I did was I tried to move away.
yeah,
I moved to California and I began a video production internship at a Christian summer camp called Young Life.
yeah, I know Young Life, yeah,
Young Life is a great organization
yeah,
to be a part of. I'm still very grateful for that time. That's whenever I was gifted the name TV Taylor.
okay,
And so it was a very formative era where I was very vulnerable, but also very scared. And I didn't really have a direction. I took a semester off of college. I decided not to enroll just because I didn't know which direction my life was going to go in.
yeah,
Um, but I still feel like I held on to my creativity as an outlet for coping.
okay,
So I threw myself fully into creating, even then.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so so you're out in California, and I know you mentioned, so you're living out there at this point, right? Like you're staying out there,
Right.
and is that where that kind of all began? Was it? I mean, because I think that sometimes, and admittedly, for somebody that like myself, I've never smoked a cigarette. I've never, in my mind,
Mm.
it's kind of like we just imagine, like I imagine Taylor, met somebody in a seedy alley somewhere, and it was this dude that just kind of handed him off something, but I mean, was it something that you were like very aware of? It was something that like, man, it's not that sinister. It was just like I knew a guy and that's just kind of how it started.
To be totally honest, I think the first couple of times that I experimented with pills was when it started to get dangerous. And those people, they had good intentions. They were like, "Hey, we know you've been through this.
Yeah, yeah,
Why don't you try taking this?"
yeah,
And the problem is that it works.
yeah,
That's the problem, is that introducing that chemical to change the way that you feel works. What
Yeah,
I mean is that it's effective. And I quickly leaned on that as a crutch. And so what began as like a recreational use of pills to help ease some pain turned into a dependency,
mm,
and where I was then seeking it out from
sure.
continuously more and more dangerous outlets. So it started with friends, and then it turned into a dealer, and eventually it turned to the streets.
Yeah.
So after a few years, I was not just doing Vicodin
Yeah.
or Oxycontin. I had run out of those and they had gotten too expensive. So I turned to street heroin.
Oh man.
And it wasn't long before I started using it intravenously.
Oh wow.
And this is just a warning to anyone. Uh, Once you go down that path, there's no going back.
Yeah.
And that I can pinpoint as the moment in my addiction where everything changed.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, man. Wow. So I've got so many questions, but I guess one thing that you kind of credit, I think now in a lot of your recovery and the thing and the victory that you're having over the, this this addiction, you mentioned, really just accountability, right? And so like I'm curious, at that time in your life, had you isolated yourself so much that accountability was kind of not really even a notion? Was there anyone coming for you? And by that, do I mean, did you still have, maybe your parents or a family member or someone that was like, we gotta go get him. We gotta figure that, we gotta help him get this out of his system.
The sad truth is that I had one by one isolated myself from all my friends and
Man.
all my family. I had probably done something terrible to them, and I understand why they had to distance themselves from me,
Yeah.
because I would steal and I would lie, anything to
Yeah.
get my next fix. And I remember my friends not wanting to let me go, but begrudgingly have to let me go because I was crashing at their house and I was stealing things from them and I was using drugs in the other room while they were asleep at
Oh
risk
man.
of overdosing myself. And it was
Yeah.
just a really, really scary situation that I'm really, really sorry that I put these people through that.
Sure.
And I have made sure that, like, in my recovery, I made amends to these
Ooh,
people,
yeah. I was gonna ask you
and
that.
that was tough. That was really tough.
Yeah.
I had to face the facts, and I had to make right the things that I had done wrong, including my friends and my family. So I remember at some point, the only person that I had left was really my mom.
Really. Yeah,
You know,
my
my
mom's a
mom just wouldn't
poundman.
let go.
Yeah.
Moms, man, I tell you what, they just don't let go.
Yeah, yeah, they don't get rid of you. Yeah, they just don't, man. Man, it's a funny thing, man. I just before this call, I just talked to my mom a second ago, and man, just such a breath of fresh air. And she reminded me that she's always praying for me and for for our family. And anyway, man, they're special. But so in all that too, man, I know that you've mentioned that relationships suffered. You mentioned that you had kind of going through a marriage that didn't work out. You mentioned that you were, you were an addict at that time, and you've kind of been very, I think, as best I can tell, very forward about how that addiction stole some of the best, the best moments of your life,
Yeah.
and
Specifically with my son, I mean, I'll stop you right there because
yeah,
that's the biggest regret in my life, is that my addiction took me away from my son. And the way that happened was that, I didn't plan a pregnancy, but I thought I was doing the right thing by getting married. In Texas, we call it a shotgun wedding.
yeah,
You get pregnant and then you get married after. And that didn't last very long. Obviously, I was in a bad place. I wasn't showing up well as a husband or a father. And because I was in such a downward spiral, I lost custody
yeah,
of my son
yeah,
whenever he was about 2 or 3 years old.
okay,
And what's sad is that that sent me even further down my spiral. I thought, well, since I've already lost everything, I've got nothing left to lose. I might as well just go all the way to the bitter end.
yeah,
And I expected to die from my addiction.
Really?
I wasn't trying to actively die, but I knew that that was the reality of my situation. And I had, to the best of my ability, I had tried to come to terms with
Yeah.
that. And I thought, you know what, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 1,000 years from now, none of this is really going to matter. So who cares anyway?
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
going to go all the way to the bitter end, and I probably won't survive this. Um, but that regret was why I decided that I didn't want to live that way anymore.
Yeah.
The regret of losing my son was my main motivating factor of getting sober and
Yeah.
living my life in recovery and getting back on top so that I could try to be a good father to my son.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you what the catalyst was that kind of got you. And let me ask you this because you mentioned your son, and I know we said beforehand, we're not going to spend a lot of time here, but man, if you could describe your son, in just a handful of words,
Yeah.
man, how would you describe him, and what is it? What does he do for your heart, even this morning?
My son is brilliant. He's 14 years old.
Okay.
He is extremely creative. He's funny. He's smart. He is a Rubik's Cube champion.
Really
He's one of those kids that can solve a Rubik's Cube in like 8 seconds.
love that.
So the things that I've seen him like put his mind to and accomplish are just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
He is in percussion in high school as a freshman, and he is playing the tenor percussion instrument. It's the one with five
Yep.
drums that sits in front of you.
Yeah.
And no freshman has ever made the tenor position
Wow.
at his school, and he is the only one ever. So
Wow.
he is just so bright and funny, and he's got such a kind heart. And I know that life kind of dealt him a tough hand because
Sure.
I wasn't there for him for many, many years. And he has all the right in the world to resent me. And just for him to open up his heart to give me a chance to prove myself
Yeah.
and to come back from the face of death and
Whew.
to
Yeah.
regain my custody of him, I really have to give him a lot of credit for um, being such a strong young man.
Yeah.
So he is actually someone that I look up to because
Yeah.
he has such a full, kind heart.
Man, that's so good. That's so good, man. I mean, and man, God willing, that relationship will continue to flourish, man, as you both get older and you get distance from the things that have, kind of made it challenging. So I love that, man.
Thank you.
Listen, so okay, so let me ask you this. So like you started into recovery, which I'm sure couldn't have been easy. Real quick before you tell us about recovery, how long have you been sober and clean, I should say?
Oh, I have been sober from opiates or any hard drugs for almost 10 years,
All right, let's
with
go.
the exception of like a few slip ups. Um, I've been clean from heroin and since about 2018.
Okay.
So about eight years or so. Yeah.
Okay, man, dude, good for you. And
Thank you.
yeah, and what is that like for you? I mean, and again, like when you're, I mean, is it one of these things? Because I know that you mentioned, that you've started to, rebuild your body, you've started to rebuild your faith, you've started to rebuild, all these things that, like you said, that could have been taken from you, man. I mean, I know you said that your son's a big motivator. I know your creativity is a big motivator. I know you're newly engaged, which I'm sure is a big motivator. I mean, man,
Thank you.
it feels like everything now, and I know it didn't come as easy as I'm probably making it sound, but things seem to be pointing towards a pretty positive trajectory for you. Do you feel like you're now starting to experience the life that you had always wanted for yourself?
Yes. And here's the thing is that I had none of these things to live for. But now that I have them, I don't want to go near drugs.
Yeah.
Like I have so much joy just from life. Like, have you ever tried life as a drug? It's
Yeah.
super fucked up, man.
Yeah.
And it just to wake up and not be hungover is a blessing. To
Yeah.
wake up and not living on the streets is such a blessing. Like, I have such a positive outlook on life, and I feel so lucky that I don't take any of these
Yeah.
gifts for granted. And my physical, my spiritual, my mental, all of these things that I once didn't have, now that I have them, I am so grateful.
Yeah, man, I love that. And so one thing that we're not afraid to talk about from time to time here, man, is faith. We don't shy away from it, but I know you mentioned your faith. I know you mentioned young life. Man, let me ask you. So here's the thing. My wife and I, we were talking the other night on the front porch. We sat out front and we were just kind of talking about just there were some, as you and all of us have these, man, but just moments that you wonder like, man, where is God in this? Like, where was God when I was doing X, Y, and Z? Or where was God whenever, I had to experience this pain that just I can't even put into words. Like, where was he? Did he
Yeah.
turn away? Did he kind of was there like a deaf ear? Like, where was he in it? And man, I know you mentioned that like, your faith is, you're starting to rebuild that too. Where do you feel like God was at your lowest of lows? And where do you feel like, I mean, was he there the whole time? I mean, like where do you like tell me a little bit about your faith journey, your faith story?
So I really questioned whether God existed whenever Casey, my high school sweetheart, passed away. And I
Yeah,
kind of lost my faith. And I didn't find it again until I was in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous.
really.
And we call it our higher power just because it could be God, it could be your spiritualness. It could be the doorknob for all you care. But all it
Okay.
is that you admit that there is a higher power and it's not you.
Yeah.
If you can put your faith in something else, and I put my faith in the group conscience, the fact that, you know what, there is a group of people in this room right now that were at the pit of despair, and somehow they all have experienced happiness, joy, freedom. How did that happen?
Yeah.
That in and of itself is a miracle. And I can
Yeah.
put my faith in that for the time being.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I had gone through that process and I was on the other end looking back that I could say that this is my spirituality. This is where it comes from. And this is my higher power. The fact that I could make this transition and I can triumph over evil and that I can survive my addiction and I'm not a slave to it, and
Yeah.
I can experience happiness and joy. All that is my higher power. So that's where my faith comes from.
Gotcha, man. So yeah, and I know that, you mentioned again, we talked about accountability, you mentioned AA, just having, I think, people that are probably going through a similar journey, with you, it probably made you not feel so alone in it. I'm sure,
Yes.
and just having almost, and I don't know what your scenario was, but almost like a band of brothers and sisters or whatever that were
Dude, I tell you what, I've been to rehab like 5 times. I'm not
really,
afraid to admit it. And those people that you go to rehab with, you will never forget. It's like having a cellmate.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
that makes sense.
having these people I consider my family. Now, I'll be totally honest, only about half of them have survived.
Really,
That's the world that I live in.
sure,
It takes almost half of us out, but the other ones who survived, I'm still very close with today. I was the
yeah,
best man at his wedding, or I am still making content with these guys on
yeah,
Wednesday, for example. Like, these people I consider my family. I went through the shit with these folks,
yeah.
and oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for Alcoholics Anonymous.
Man, yeah, and I know that there are a lot of people that swear that they swear by it, man. And we could probably talk about that more, but let me do this because, man, you've there's such a beauty, I think, to your story and again, we kind of talked about that, man. I mean, it sounds funny because like we look for it in movies, just that character arc. We look for, you want redeemable quality in people, right? Or redeemable qualities in people. Like you want that redemption, right? Like I think that the redemption story is what we're all pulling for and rooting for and stuff like that. And so it's like, the way that I stumbled upon you, and again, I was probably just scrolling one day or one night. And then I come across the Prank Cab Show, which I had never seen. This was new to me. And I'm like, well, man, it's a brilliant concept. And I'm thinking like, man, does this guy does he drive, Uber in the evenings? And and what a brilliant What a brilliant concept. But because for anyone that hasn't seen it, describe like let me what describe what it is and describe how you came up with the idea.
So the prank cab show is a concept where I am an Uber driver and I pick up my passenger and I play them a song made by AI that has their name in it.
Mhm.
And I film their hilarious reaction
Yeah,
to that song.
yeah,
And they're surprised and sometimes they're upset and sometimes we all laugh together and sometimes they get out of the car.
yeah,
I've only made about a dozen episodes, but the show is a massive, massive success.
yeah.
In the 1 month that I've had the show running now, I've achieved about 80 million views and
Let's
half a
go.
million followers.
Let's go. Man, that is incredible. I mean, well, because I mean, again, brilliant concept. Brilliant concept. Here's something that I couldn't help but wonder. And again, this is the skeptic in me. Is when they're getting in, like, is this person a plant or are they the real deal? Like they just came back from the airport. Like, I mean, are these people like actual factual people that you picked up? And I guess then my sub question would be like, are you simultaneously in real time punching in, Jessica's name or whoever it is, and you're getting this for the first time along with them. Is that kind of the way
Yes.
it's working?
Yeah, so the way that it
That,
works is that I pre-write the lyrics ahead of time.
okay,
So
okay,
I think
okay.
about funny concepts and I have a
Sure.
list of them on my notes app and to where at any time, as soon as I see a writer's name pop up on my phone, I can enter in that name into my pre-written lyrics and then I plug that into an app called Suno.
Okay.
And Suno is an AI music creation platform. And I can generate a song based on some prompts like make it reggae or make it radio country
Yeah.
or make it rap or hip hop. And then in about 60 to 90 seconds, it produces a song. And I
Yeah.
normally have enough time to listen to that song on the way to pick up the passenger. And
Yeah.
then whenever I pick them up, I'm filming their reaction for the
Okay.
first time.
Okay. I mean, totally brilliant, man. I mean, and I've got so many questions. So it's so funny because like you said, you've kind of gotten some, like I think it was Jessica that wanted to get, if you haven't, for anybody
Yeah.
listening, listen to Jessica's because very, very agitated, Jessica. But also like, it's funny because you did one with a driver or with a rider, I should say, named Christian. One of my favorite parts about that video is because the lyric is that, Christian, what basically is a cutie patootie. And then on the way out the door, you reach back for him and tell him like bye cutie patootie, which I thought was just brilliant comedic timing, man. And but the cool thing is like you can see the joy that it's bringing to most everyone, right? Like
Yeah.
Jessica aside,
Yeah.
Jessica, we love you by the way.
Yeah.
But you can see the joy in real time because what happens is, man, in my opinion, that person finds themselves in a story. And it may be a far cry from who they are in reality, obviously, but they're finding themselves in a story and they're finding themselves, this is being captured, by you. It's evergreen content that is being, it's viral, man. And it's just, I think it's so brilliant. And so let me ask you this, because you mentioned you've done about half dozen or about a dozen of them. And again, man, if people aren't watching this, they should be, because it is so fun. What are different ways that you're going to continue to pour into it? What are different ways that you plan to elevate it?
So I've got big plans for the show, and it's so cool. I have sponsors that I have meetings with this week to kind of take this to the next level. One thing is that the show is called the Prank Cab Show,
Right.
not the AI song prank show.
Right.
So it leaves it open to a number of ways that I could prank my passenger.
Yeah.
For instance, they could get in the car and I could have a big buzzing sound and then an announcement about a comet that's about to hit Earth, an emergency
Yeah.
broadcast. Or I had this idea where I want to pretend that I'm an artist and hey, can I play you this song real quick and you listen to it and tell me what you think about it? And then it's just kind of a ridiculous song.
Yeah.
So I have a number of ways that I want to prank my passenger, and the concepts could just go on and on and on.
For sure.
And I am about to embark on a long form episode of this show. So
Okay.
imagine this show, but it's 30 minutes long. And I am going to travel the United States and go to every major city and Uber in all the major cities.
Yeah.
And each episode will be me going to a new city, experiencing the city, maybe meeting the mayor or a local celebrity.
Yeah.
And as I'm going throughout the day, I'm writing down funny things that I notice and that I see and that I'm making into lyrics.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, I log on and I prank my passengers.
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
30-minute episode. And I want
Sure.
to make about maybe 20, 30 to 40 of those episodes. And I want to time that with the release of Instagram TV, which, if you haven't heard of this, Instagram is entering into your television world, just like you have an app on your TV
Sure.
for Prime Video and for Netflix. Well, right next to it now, there's going to be a new app called Instagram TV, and they want to feature horizontal content from their biggest content creators.
Okay.
And I want to position my show to be one of the first featured horizontal long form content television shows on Instagram TV.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, no, dude, it sounds like you've got big plans for it. And I know that you mentioned that you got which I'm sure is surreal, but you've got, like you said, calls lined up with potential sponsors and things like that. And because what happens is, and you know how it goes, man, people are they start to chase the traction. They start to chase kind of, where the algorithm is taking people. You mentioned that you had recently left your job, and I guess my question is because I think that almost any content creator would, that I would love to get to a point where I can leave my XYZ, where I don't have to work at
Yeah.
Tractor Supply anymore. And I
Yeah.
can, and I can just, make content full time. Like, how did you kind of like get to the point where it's just like, because I want to be clear. I mean, chances are you didn't get to this place of just like financial freedom. And I think there's probably an element of like fear and really just like betting on yourself, right? So like, can you
Yeah.
explain how you left your job and now you're trying to do this full time?
Yeah, it all started February 1st whenever I launched my personal brand page at tvtaylor.creative, and I just started putting out ideas. I was constantly creating. So not only did I work a full-time job as a content creator, but I got home at the end of the day and then I worked for myself. So I've been working about 80 hours a week
Wow. Yeah.
since February the 1st, and I finally had something that was a hit.
Yeah.
And I broke this off and I made its own system of channels across all platforms. And I leaned into that really hard. Now, a lot of those channels are beginning to monetize. And so I'm starting to get some revenue from those
Sure.
channels. And I have a storefront where I offer coaching and maybe a custom prank song for just 15 bucks. And
Yeah.
so I have a few ways that I'm receiving revenue, but it's almost nothing. I mean, I can
Sure.
barely
Sure.
survive on it right now. So the choice to leave my job is a leap of faith because I don't really know where my next paycheck is going to come from.
Yeah.
And I just have to have faith that I am doing what I love and the money will come.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can see how this is going to grow, and I know that there's opportunities there, and it's up to me to go chase them down. And
Sure.
I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, no, yeah, and nor should you, man. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and we were just talking about where we are creatively. Like where are we, and like, what are we chewing on, what are we noodling on, and like, man, I think, and I'm sure you're the same way. There are things that you can't make it stop. You can't, it's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. You get up and say something into your phone. I don't because I don't want to forget
Yeah.
this or whatever it
Yeah.
is. But it is such a leap, man, to be able to say, "Hey, I'm going to leave the 8 to 5." You're newly engaged, man. How does your fiance like? How does that land with her when you're just like,
So
"Hey,
it's
I'm
kind of
gonna, yeah,
scary.
yeah,
She's like, "Hey, are we gonna be okay?"
yeah, yeah,
And
totally,
I'm the provider in the household, so I have to
totally,
sit there and have to tell her like, we're okay for maybe like 2 months, but I don't
yeah,
know. I
yeah,
don't know. But we're both in this together, and
yeah,
she's totally supportive. We met through content creation. I was writing and directing the pilot to a travel channel show, and I needed to cast a female host of the
okay,
show. And so I had a few audition, and this one very talented YouTube content creator named Gina auditioned to be the host of the show. And I cast her. And in the process of writing and filming the pilot of the show, we fell in love.
that's yeah, amazing.
Now, lo and behold, the show hasn't gotten picked up yet, but we did create a channel called Finding Austin Spots that we co-create together. So she's the face and I'm behind the camera.
Sure.
And so our world is already revolving around content creation
Yeah.
and monetizing channels. And we kind of do this together. And now we are in love together, but we're also in business together. And those
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes those two things don't always mesh well. I mean, like our fights are sometimes about business things or
Sure.
trying to force yourself to step away from the business. Like, hey, we want to put down the phones tonight. Hey, we
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to have a night where it's just us and not the distraction of a screen or forcing ideas for content. But like, to be honest, sometimes that's hard for me. I can't escape my perspective of trying to create and capture all the time. So
Yeah.
she's good about trying to get me away from that. And we just
Yeah.
took a week long vacation to Puerto Rico,
Nice.
and I was allowed to create one piece of content per day, and that's it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's well, I mean, listen, it's funny, man, because it's like I think sometimes, and you probably know this, but I think sometimes people try to lay down one vice to pick up another, which can be equally as unhealthy sometimes.
Mhm.
I think that there are worse things than to be behind a camera and
Yeah,
creating worlds that make people imagine.
yeah.
And so, dude, it's such a cool thing that you're doing, man. And I'm very, very hopeful for you this week, that these sponsors, man, are the right sponsors, that you can land some partnerships that are beneficial for everyone, and that you can keep doing what you want to do, man, and building the life that you
Thank
want to
you.
build. Again, I think it's an extraordinary story. And before we kind of just check out, man, for anybody that may just be in the throes of a difficult season, or even that maybe maybe they've got a vice that is keeping them from experiencing the joy of life or the good things of life. And it's hard for them to lay those things down. It's hard for them to see downrange, down scope a little bit, man. What encouragement would you give to somebody that is not really yet experiencing the best that life has to offer them?
I would say you can either experience two different types of pain: the pain of staying or the pain of leaving. And if you were to be honest with yourself and to face your fears and face your struggles, everything that you could ever possibly want in life is waiting for you on the other side of the hardest thing you've ever done.
Yeah, man.
And
Yeah,
that's the truth.
that's a good word, man. And I think you're a living testament to it, man. And I want to thank you truly. I mean, we've been able to tell some fun stories, but man, I love your story. I love that there's
Thank
redemption
you.
and beauty in it, man. And
Well, before I depart, I want to make sure I put a nice end cap on this because there's one part of the story that I like to tell at the end.
go for it.
Casey, my high school sweetheart, made a mistake that night and she decided to drive drunk.
Mm.
And the car that she impacted was an innocent little 17-year-old kid from our neighboring town, and he was paralyzed from the waist down.
Oh man.
And I think about him almost every day
Yeah.
and how his life was forever changed by that one fateful night
Yeah.
and how it rippled through families and even generations. Now, Casey's mother was an alcoholic at the time, and by all means, she had the right to probably continue to drink herself to death because no parent should ever have to bury their own child.
Right. Right.
But her life also changed. She got sober.
Wow.
She never drank another drop of alcohol from that day.
Wow.
And she did something that I never expected. When we were in the hospital and the victim, who was 17-year-old and learning in that moment that he was paralyzed from the waist down, he was in the hospital room a few doors down from Casey's hospital room. And Casey's mother walked down into that hospital room and befriended that young man
Mm.
and began a relationship with that young man. It started with an amends and it started with a place of understanding the pain. and they bonded in that moment,
Wow.
and they became very close, and they began to talk, and she worked with him through his rehabilitation and his recovery. And although he's in a wheelchair, they began a partnership to where they were speaking together. They were great friends, and they started to tour
Oh,
America
wow.
on behalf of Mothers Against Drunk Driving
Wow.
as a living testimony of the impact that one mistake could have
Yeah.
on a mother and on the victim.
Wow.
And years after the accident, they told their story on Good Morning America with Barbara Walters.
Wow.
And there they were on the screen, and
Wow.
Casey's pictures were fading by,
Yeah.
and they told their story. And it was a warning, and it was a moment to heed, and it was also the lessons learned, and it was also the silver lining. And I am so touched by that story,
Yeah.
that they took something tragic and turned it into something triumphant, and they shared their message. And that has been my guiding star. And I have been searching for the opportunity to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And as I've struggled and then gone through recovery, I have made it a point to not be afraid to tell my story so that other people who are struggling can relate and not feel so alone. And so that way they know that there is a way out. And if I can do it, then you can do it too. And at the end, when this is all done, and years from now, if I have, recovery under my belt and a successful show under my belt, and I've created a career for myself doing my passion, I want to write my story
Yeah.
into a book, and I want to publish that book, and then I want to give back by running for Congress
Wow.
in my state. And I want to make my platform, one of my biggest priorities is going to be facing and battling addiction,
Yeah.
specifically with the opioid crisis. It's affected so many people. The same amount of people who are affected by cancer are affected by the opioid crisis, but we just don't talk about the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
Everybody's not afraid to talk about how cancer is affecting people and lives and taking so many people that we love away from us. But the opioid crisis is right there. And
Yeah.
I want to be a voice for those people who are struggling or losing their loved ones. And I want to make an impact once I reach the midpoint of my life. So whenever I'm 40, I've decided that instead of take, I'm going to give back.
Yeah.
So between now and 40, which I have 2 years left, I want to write this bookend into a nice story where I overcame my addiction. And then I want to use that to run for Congress, and I want to be a public servant, and I want to start to give back. And I think that's where my story really begins.
Man, that's incredible, man. And and man, I can't add much to that. I think that you mentioned, Casey, you mentioned, the young man that was impacted and affected and her mother. And man, I think what's where I find the beauty in that, man, is that we are, I mean, don't get me wrong, man, there's fallout from choices that we make, but we're not defined by our worst choices. You're not.
Mhm.
I mean, you've made bad
Mhm.
choices, but you're not defined by them. And
Mhm.
and and man, there's still so much good that you can squeeze out of this life. And man, I'm excited, dude. We're rooting for you, man. We're rooting for you. We're pulling for you. And again, Austin, Texas, look out, man. But Texas I mean, Texas is my state. Those are my people, man. So man, get in there and make an impact. And just man, dude, thank you. And I would just say, keep spreading your love and light, and spreading your mission and your message, and I think people are going to latch on to that, man. I think you're going to impact a lot of lives.
Thank you. And again, if you want to watch my show, I'm at the Prank Cab Show, and my personal brand channel is at tbtaylor.creative. I'd love for you to follow my story. Thank you for having me.
Dude, absolutely. Taylor Allbritain. Man, thank you so much for jumping on Hitting the Road, and we'll talk to you soon, brother.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right.